There's a lot of people I don't personally know. How exciting is that? Ooh. Welcome, welcome. Bienvenidos. Oh, look, there's our girls. Oh, look. See, I hadn't seen your front teeth. They look beautiful. Oh my God. The children, they have visible growth. So exciting. The rest of us, sometimes it's not quite so visible, although it's happening.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yes, it is really amazing. And so lovely, so lovely. Look at your beautiful faces. My goodness. It's making my heart beat fast. Okay. All right.
Thank you, everyone, for your patience. We'll get started just in 1 second.
Welcome, welcome.
Well, the folks of you who are here, I want to just start us off by just starting with this beautiful welcoming. It's great to see all these faces here and new and seasoned thrivers. I'm going to be one of your co-hosts today. My name is Duncan Autry. I've been involved with Thrive almost since the beginning. And my co-host is my great friend and wonderful elder in our community, Annalise.
Would be me.
I want to start by making an acknowledgement of the land that we are on. The first peoples of this land and the land that you are in. Here in the East Bay, we are on the unceded territory of the Chochenyo Ohlone people. We acknowledge this land and the place where we are because we want to have awareness of the historical theft, the harm that was inducted there, and in a certain way to bring a certain level of humility and gratitude to any of the work we're doing wherever we are standing. And I think it's worth pointing out that we're standing on a lot of history that comes behind us that gets us to where we are, some very beautiful and some very tragic, and remembering the land we're on. If you are interested in being aware of the first peoples of where you are, there's a link in the chat where you can find information and find out about where you're, who are the first peoples of wherever you are. And also, something that we do at Thrive is we do share a certain amount of money to the land, the Ohlone Peoples de Segorite Land Trust. And if you're interested in making a contribution to their work and honoring this land, you also can find that link on the side. And so thank you, everyone, and just presencing the land that we all are on and the history behind us. So I want to acknowledge the beautiful community that's forming here, that we're cutting across generations. I want to lift up the wonderful elders in our community, bringing us wisdom and support. If you identify as an elder, you're welcome to give yourself a little wave. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge the children that are joining us and that are such a vital part of this community. Thank you for being here. And also all the guests, people who are here for their first time with Thrive, we welcome you. You're very, very welcome. To get us started, I want to just actually give us 2-minute little meditation moment. So just invite everyone to find your body, find your center. If you need to close your eyes, you're welcome. Just have a moment of silence. Thank you everyone for being here. And we're going to get us started with some music. I'd like to introduce to you Dyna Erie, accompanied by her friend Nico, a member of the Thrive Choir and beautiful singer-songwriter in her own right. Dyna, it's all yours.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Dyna, and this is Nico.
Hi.
And I just wanted to say I miss singing this song with y'all in person. And the song is called Free Mind. And I want y'all to sing this loud and proud in your room, in the bathroom, wherever you are. I'll sing one line. You'll sing the next. It's real easy. Here we go. Come on. All right. Free my mind, free my mind. The self is all of humankind. Y'all do. Free my mind. The self is all of humankind. Hey, 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 yeah. Come on. Hey, yeah. One more time. Free my mind. Free my mind. Free my mind. The self is all of humankind. Free my mind. Free my mind. The self is all of humankind. Hey, 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 yeah. Hey, 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 yeah. Free my heart. Free my heart, free my heart. Let there just be love at the start. Free my heart, free my heart. Let there just be love at the start. Yeah, hey, 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 yeah, yeah. Hey, 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 hey. Here we go. Free my body, free my body, free my body. The chain is gone, the keys ain't nobody's. Free my body, free my body. The chain is gone, the keys ain't nobody's. Hey, hey, yeah. Hey, yeah. Free my soul, free my soul, free my soul. Let go every hold of control. Free my soul, free my soul. Let go every hold of control. Hey, y'all got this now, come on. Hey, from the top, from the top. Okay, free my mind, free my mind. Let me go, do da da da. Free my mind, free my mind. The self is all of humankind. Hey, I wanna hear you. Hey, yeah, hey, yeah, hey, yeah. Free my heart, free my heart. Let there just be love at the start. Free my heart, free my heart. Let there just be love at the start. Hey, hey, yeah. Free my body, free my body. The chain is gone, the keys ain't nobody's. Free my body, free my body. The chain is gone, the keys ain't nobody's. Hey, 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 hey. Come on, come on. All right. Hey, hey, hey. I can feel it out. Okay, here we go. Free my soul, free my soul. Let go every hold of control. Free my soul, free my soul. Let go every hold of control. Hey, hey, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Oh, hey, come on, y'all. I just want y'all to just sing for a moment. Just hey, yeah, 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 yeah. Hey, yeah, da, 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 da. Hey, yeah, da, 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 da. Come on, last time. Free my soul, free my soul. Let go every hold of control. Free my soul, free my soul. Let go every hold of control. Hey, 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 hey. Thank you very much. I hope y'all enjoyed that. Dina, and this is Nico. Ciao.
Woohoo! Yay!
Thank you, Dina. It feels so good to be reveling in Dina magic. Love that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for bringing your best selves to be with us today. I want to say that at Thrive, we are committed to eliminating patriarchy and moving beyond the gender binary and acknowledging that March is Women's History Month, a month when we highlight and celebrate and revel in the feminine energy and the feminine contribution to life. So we're thankful. Last month we had some folks join us that were not invited guests. We had what is known as a Zoom bombing. And after this event, we are holding a healing circle that will begin on the same link at 5:40. So whether you were there present last month or not, if you want to be part of that healing and part of that circle, we welcome you to join us at 5:40. Thrive East Bay is a community that brings people together at the intersection of meaning and social activism and belonging and the arts. And we are building beloved community, one conversation, one heart at a time. We are guided by 4 principles. We believe in thriving lives. And we ask you to ask yourself that question, what does it take for you to thrive? And hopefully being here is part of that. We believe in love in action. We are leading with love, and that is just a really important piece of who we are. We believe in shared learning and practice. We believe that we have to do this stuff. And we believe in systemic change because we know that the cultural narrative is bad and we are rewriting it. We have a new cultural narrative and it's about collective liberation and about leading in love. So today our theme is the masks we live behind, healing our culture from the inside. What a timely topic, since we are all now being belovedly compliant and wearing our masks in this COVID-19 pandemic. Our guest speaker today is Ashanti Branch. We are joined by guest artist Amy MacClain, and we have already heard from our beautiful Dina, and also another choir member, Joyous Dawn, will be singing for us later in the program. We will be flowing through song and ritual and storytelling, and we are just really, really happy that you're here. So now I'm going to turn it over to Duncan, who's going to turn it over to Amy.
Wonderful. Thank you, Annalise. So it's my absolute pleasure to introduce to you Amy MacClain, who's going to be performing for us in a moment. Amy is a social storyteller who utilizes the medicine of music as a soundtrack for healing. She's a songwriter, a facilitator, program designer, coach, and her work reflects her own deep process of like both finding that and lighting that inner spark that illuminates purpose and guides all of us to heal. Her work lies at the intersection of depression and oppression, and she identifies how personal and collective traumas are woven together and the vital importance of the importance of us needing to unwind those traumas if we are going to transform. Professionally, she designs and leads corporate justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion programs. And she supports people to shift institutional power and build more resilient, equitable, and accountable spaces. Amy is going to be performing for us now and then also again later in the event. And with no further ado, Amy MacClain.
Hi, everybody. I'm so excited to be here with you all. So grateful for the opportunity to be in this community, which I've known of for so long and always felt like I really want to be here, and really grateful to be able to make time today. And thank you so much for everyone who has made it here. through whatever you have gone through today and this week, and with all the resting that you're creating this beloved community. I love that you're calling it that, beloved community, because I really do believe that we can't transform the things that need to be transformed without these deep roots in our social community. So I'm super grateful to be here, super grateful to be with Ashanti today, who he and I have been doing social emotional learning work alongside each other for a long time. And I'm going to sing a little song to start us off. It's a prayer, it's a declaration, it's a hymn. And actually, in the background, you may, if you come here a lot, you may recognize the voice of Austin Willisey, who sings the lower point on this song. I'm going to play the harmonies in the background. So Austin will be here with us. And the last thing I want to say is also super grateful to be here on this Ohlone land. And this song was written on this land in the Temple of Ancestors. So with that, I'll bring this prayer, this hymn forward as a kickoff to our day today. I hope you can just feel it as a declaration of love and intention. I will sing of loving kindness in the morning as I rise, and I will sing of truth and silence as the evening light retires. I will pray for all your mercy when I lay my good head down, and I will pray for peace and justice on my way to where I'm bound. Sing a song of freedom. It's the only way to turn the tide of all the ties that bind my mind, so you can sing me to the other side. I will turn my thoughts to glory as I walk the length of days. Set my sights on telling stories that bring a smile onto your face. And I will pray for all your mercy when I lay my good head down. And I will pray for peace and justice for every heart the world around. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Amy. That was spectacular. It's really a blessing. Okay, it is now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. Ashanti Branch has a master's in education, is a speaker, a mentor, an engineer, a teacher, a big brother, and a self-proclaimed mama's boy. Born to a single mom and raised in Oakland on welfare, they took the road less traveled to get out of the ghetto, and they attended one of California's premier engineering colleges, the California Polytechnic, College at San Luis Obispo. Ashanti studied civil engineering and worked as a construction project manager in his first career. After tutoring struggling students and realizing his true passion was teaching, Ashanti changed careers. He suddenly found the fire that was missing from his life, and he hoped to ignite a similar enthusiasm in his young students. In 2004, as a first-year teacher, Ashanti started the Ever Forward Club to provide support for African American and Latino young people, young men, who are not achieving to the level of their potential. Since then, the Ever Forward Club has grown to serve both genders and become a 501c nonprofit organization. The Ever Forward Club has helped 100% of its members graduate high school, and 93% of them have gone on to attend college. Ashanti and the Ever Forward Club were featured in the documentary The Mask You Live In, which premiered at the 2015 Sundance Film Festival. They have now launched the Million Mask movement to engage students, educators, and people around the world. With over 19 years of mentoring youth and 10 of those as a math teacher educating inner city folk, Mr. Branch, Ashanti, is on a mission to change the way students interact with their education and the way schools help students realize their potential. We are truly honored to have with us Ashanti Branch.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, and thank you for that introduction, man. I need to travel with you around the world when I go somewhere. I appreciate that. I was having to like sometimes ask myself, who is she talking about, right? Because I know in the journey of how I see my life, that's the highlight reel. And maybe you've experienced that before, right? Maybe sometimes you're comparing your behind the scenes track with everyone else's highlight reel. Anybody ever felt themselves comparing to other people's highlight reel? Anybody? You know, there was a song I was gonna play, but because I have a lot I want to put into this time, I'm gonna skip it. But the song is by Matthew West. It's called "Truth Be Told," and in that song, what he says on the first line, he says, "Lie number one is that you're supposed to have it all together. When they ask you how you're doing, just smile and tell them never better. Lie number two is everybody's life is perfect except yours. So keep your messes and your wounds and your secrets safe with you behind closed doors." And what I know is that those lies I grew up with a loving mother, but no room really to talk about what feelings were. But before I jump in, because I feel myself already about to jump in really quick with you. So let's do this. In the chat, if you have access to that, if you can put a number on a scale from 1 to 10. Now, let's say if we were doing a scale on how you're feeling right now, let's say 1 is the worst and 10 is the best. Put a number on a scale from 1 to 10, and that will help just kind of ground us into wherever you come to this space at. Wherever you come, I just want you to give your best. And so if you're coming to this space at a 5, give your best from 5. If you're coming to this space at a 9, give your best from 9. And I believe that if you do that part on your end, that you will be able to leave here and say, I got something out of that. Today is not going to be a passenger experience. Today, we are going to co-create this experience. And because I have about a half an hour with you and then 10 minutes to be able to answer some questions, I need you in that half an hour to be as engaged as you possibly can within the circumstances that exist around you. And so thank you for checking in. And so for where all the numbers are, from all the places we come from all the things that we're going through that are both in our minds and in our hearts, I'm going to invite you through this experience to take a journey from your head down to your heart. That's going to be the journey today. Today, I'm not going to try and fill your head with a lot of intellectual stuff. I'm going to talk about some feeling stuff. And I may even feel something that I don't plan to feel, but it may just come. So whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But what I do ask for you is that I'm going to speak some of my truth. And when I speak part of my truth, I want you to know that my goal is not to have you believe my truth. My goal is to speak it. And when you hear it, whether you feel like you want to push back against it or it doesn't make sense to you, just land in a place where you're like, he's speaking his truth. Because when I hear the bio, like all the highlights, I tell you, many days don't feel like that. Many days don't feel like that is my life. Many days feel actually quite opposite. You know, if you had handed me a checklist in the womb and said, hey, Ashanti, you're about to show up in a couple of months, how you want this life thing to look, I would have picked some different options, you know? I would have been like, can I get 2 parents? My father died before I was born. Nobody asked me my opinion. I just showed up on the planet. Life was a mess. And I was supposed to know how to navigate what it meant to be a man in this world, in Oakland, California, with a mom who taught me to be loving and caring and gentle and kind, and how to wash and clothes and fold dishes. Well, you get it, right? All that. Like, to do all the stuff that needed to happen around the house, because at 7 years old, I was the man of the house. My uncle gave me that job. He came to the house and he said, hey, you gotta take care of your mom and your sister and your brother. I didn't want that job. I just wanted to go outside and play. But it wasn't like he offered me an opportunity. He said, you, Ashanti, are now the man of the house at 7. And so the journey that I see the world through now is all my lenses are connected to all the stories that happened along the way. Growing up in a city where in my mom's house, I knew what to do to be a good boy, to be the man of the house. But when I walked out of my mom's house, the rules were very different. Because if you're too nice and too kind and too caring and too loving and too gentle, you will get preyed upon. And I know that from personal experience. I know what it feels like to be beat up in a park for no reason. I know what it feels like to have to pretend like you don't want to have close friendships because everyone doesn't want to have close friendships, because something must be wrong with you if you want to have close friendships, especially with other guys, other young men in the school. There were behaviors that I had to learn that when I left out of my mom's house, you put the smile away, you look straight ahead, and you don't take nothing from nobody. That was survival techniques. That wasn't what I wanted to act like. I knew that there was some consequences if I didn't act that way. I remember the first time that I went to the park by myself to play basketball, I thought the rules were you wait your turn. That's what my mom taught me. But I was standing there for like 2 hours and I'm like, what's going on here? Like, this must be a long line. I don't see all the people waiting, but people keep coming out of nowhere. And I just thought I would ask one of the guys who've been out there a while. I said, hey, can you help me and figure this out? Like, I've been waiting here for about 2 hours. Like, how can I play? He said, what? You've been waiting here to play? We didn't know who you were. Like, you don't wait to play. You walk out on the court while people are playing and you say, I got next. That's how you play. You don't ask. You don't negotiate. You don't discuss. You declare what you're going to do. That's what I was taught in the community I grew up in. And then maybe that one guy over there already has next. So he'll be like, well, I already got next. And there's no conversation with that guy. You're like, then I'm on your team. Just like that. And maybe he already got 5 people. So you be like, well, then I'm after you. At no point along the rules that I learned growing up in Oakland were how to come to an agreement, how to discuss, how to negotiate. I had rules. Okay. I'm just kind of getting you set up so you know that what I'm about to talk about is going to hit real right now. If you're not feeling it yet, just get ready because it's coming right now. Let me share a couple of slides with you because I want to do that first because I want you just to kind of get an idea of the small amount of formality that you're going to hear in these slides, right? So this is a cover page, right? And you did the check-in, right? And then this is me at 7 years old. This is when my uncle told me after my young brother had been born that Ashanti, you're the man of the house. That was around that season. And then this is my mom, who I love dearly. I didn't like her a lot growing up, but I love her. She worked my nerves. Like, she got on my nerves, like all of them. Like, any nerve that was possible to get on, she knew how to get on it. But, maybe I did the same for her. This is my grandmother. This is my father's mother. So this is my only connection to the Branch name in my family. My grandmother didn't, this was the last time I got her out of her house to like go somewhere. So this was 2010. I got an award and she came to that. And that was the last time pretty much I got her to leave her house. My grandmother passed away last year in January. And it wasn't until this year in January that I actually took some time to deal with it. Like after she passed last January, I was dealing with some emotions, but I was busy. I had a lot of work to do. And then the pandemic hit. And then I'm like, okay, I don't have time to deal with that thing. So I'll deal with it later. And then the pandemic kept going. And then January of this year, I started feeling really anxious, like really, I started feeling something. I didn't know what it was. I'm like, why am I feeling like stirring and going in my body, in my head, in my heart? And I realized that it was the anniversary was coming around. And I remember I got on my phone, it has this stupid thing where it says, you know, a year ago today. And I remember looking at that thing and it was a picture of me with her when she was on hospice. And I'm like, oh, why are you showing me that picture? Like, and then I started realizing what was happening because I had not dealt with those emotions. I had stuffed them. I'm good at stuffing emotions. And I realized when I was stuffing them, they were starting to come out in really unhealthy ways. They were coming out in how I was talking to other people in traffic. Now, they couldn't hear me, but I'm just talking to myself in my car, but I was talking to them. I was saying stuff to them. Right? Like how I was taking care of myself. Like it was like going into emotional eating, which is a thing I do. Like I remember all these things starting to show up and I'm like, what's going on with you, Ashanti? What's happening? I remember I had stuffed it and it was breaking out. It was breaking free. It was like, you going to deal with it or we're going to deal with you. Like the emotions were coming out. And I was like, oh my God. Like, I want to let you know that I'm the youngest I'm the youngest grandson. So I was really close to my grandmother. I spent every Sunday with her after church, taking her food. We hang out. Sometimes she want to talk for 5 minutes. Sometimes she want to talk for 50 minutes. Whatever she wanted, right? And so I'm just sharing that with you that what I'm talking about today is coming from a place of heart, and sometimes it's hard to touch into the heart. This picture is when I became an educator. When I became an educator, I found myself teaching in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. I never planned to be a teacher first. I wanted to be rich because I knew that poor wasn't fun. So me going to become a teacher and then looking at this picture where I'm teaching in India was not my plan. Like the plan that I had lined up for myself was that by 45, I was going to be retired. I was going to have my house in the Oakland Hills. I already knew the street I wanted to have the house on. Like I was clear. I had made plans. I had worked hard. I had sacrificed a lot of fun with my friends out in Oakland because I knew that I was going somewhere. And, you know, when I decided to become a teacher, it was not the battle of what my heart wanted to do. It was like, this doesn't make any sense, Ashanti. You're not going to live the lifestyle you've been working so hard for. You're not going to get the kind of money that you made as an engineer. You're going to be probably scratching and scraping to get by. Like, what's wrong with you? And so it wasn't my heart. My heart was like, this is what you should do. This is the job that you should be about. And so I'm just going to show that this is my students. I'll do a quick. 2007 is when I went to the Fulbright Fellowship in India. And then a couple of months ago, I got to meet those students again in this new Zoom world, right? I don't know why we hadn't thought of it before, but they're now, you know, in their late 20s. They're getting married and their careers and their masters and PhDs. They're doing amazing things in the world. It was really beautiful to reconnect with them. And I'm just going to pass through these a little quickly. This is Zoom life. Like when, you know, as a mentor in this work of Ever Forward, we see screens like this sometimes where some students are there, but they're not there. You ever had an experience where somebody was there, but you felt like they weren't really there? Like they were talking to you, but you were like, something is missing. Like I don't think are you here? And you may play it off like, hey, okay, you say everything's fine. Okay, I guess everything's fine. Because sometimes when people say they're fine, they don't mean fine. Sometimes when we ask how you're doing, we don't actually mean how you're doing. So you may want to think about that next time you ask somebody how they're doing. Do you have time to listen if they wanted to tell you? Now, Sadat is the only student on the screen right now, so I don't take any credit for Sadat. Sadat is an amazing young man, but Sadat always has his camera on, and Sadat is always as close to the camera as possible so he can still see the other people on the screen. So as much as I love Sadat, I can't take credit for him being on the camera because he's always on the camera. He's on the camera before I am. So Sadat is the one young man who's in the space with us there. And then we have some screens where we can see all the young men, but we can't hear them because the bandwidth doesn't work. And we have some screens where we have our high school students are going through so many things. They're self-conscious and they don't want to be seen. So they hide half of their face, or they got siblings to take care of. Or they have other responsibilities. Some don't even pretend to pay attention. Some are just like, I'm doing something else. You can keep talking if you want to, but I'm not, I got something else to work on. Like this is what we see in our schools and education around young people. And maybe you've seen that in some of your meetings. Maybe you're like, doesn't that person know that I can see that they're playing a video game? Can't they see that I can see the lights flashing off their face? Can't they tell that I know they're on their phone? Don't they know I see them? And we've been in these little rectangles so long, we sometimes have forgotten what it was like to be with people in a real room. You know, I'm so sad about what I heard happen last week. Young people out looking for ways to create chaos. I know that a lot of our young men in our work, they're feeling extremely lonely. But what if you lived in a house that said, you can't be lonely? You got brothers and sisters in there. Get in there. What if you got family who says, you can't be lonely? You got parents here. What you talking about? Think you at least got a family. Because people think lonely means that nobody else is around, which is not always the case. And so a lot of our young men that we talk to on a regular basis in the program, they're talking about, man, I just want to hang out with my friend. I want to see them. I want to like be in a space with them. What if you told that makes you not a real man? What if you're told that the rules of what body you live in, you have to follow certain rules and you can't talk about certain things. So what do you do with those things you need to talk about? Well, maybe you stuff them. Listen, I was a bad teacher. I didn't start off as a good teacher. I started off as a really bad teacher, but what I realized was that I needed to learn something different from my students. So this is what happened. I invited some students that first year as a failing teacher. I mean, when I say failing, I mean students were failing my class. I considered it, if a student fails my class and I'm failing, because like I heard teachers blame students, and I'm like, well, yeah, they have to do the work, but you know, I think my job in here is to help engage them and figure out what's in the way. So I had this activity I wanted them to do because I was learning some stuff. So I want you to try this first. This is the part where I want you to try. And this is the first part where you're going to do something, but you can just do it in your mind. If you got a notebook handy, you can write it. But I want you to think of one obstacle that you've overcome in your life. And maybe think of one obstacle that you currently face. So just let that sink in. What is the obstacle you overcome in your life? And you can think about it when you were a teenager, or you can think about it like today. Like, what is an obstacle in your life that you have overcome? Yeah. Okay. Now think of an obstacle that you may currently face. Okay. So I asked those students that on that day when I was like trying to figure out some data from them, because I was really trying to learn what was I doing wrong, because I know the math. I love math. I love teaching. I was not there for that check. I was there because something in my body and my heart said, this is what you should be doing. And so this is what I did. I asked them those questions, and this is what they said. Obstacles that I overcome in my life is drugs and my girlfriend. Obstacles that I currently face are some teachers being boring like my English class. Obstacles that I've overcome in my life, I almost overcome gangs and stuff like that. Obstacles that I currently face, they're gangs. Obstacles that I overcome in my life is the fact that my dad is not with me no more, and I had accepted now. The obstacles that I currently face are how bad I want to do good in school, but I always end up slacking off. This young man doesn't know that he's dealing with PTSD. He witnessed his father dying. His family doesn't know what therapy is. They don't have no money or resources or time. They don't even know what it is. They think he's slacking off in school, and that's what they tell him. So he thinks he's slacking off, but he's replaying this image over and over again, and he thinks it's his fault. What happens is the people who are supposed to like take care of you and support you and guide you are blaming you for the stuff that's happening inside of you, like, and they can't even see it. And this last one, the young man, I was first irritated, first of all, that he wrote so small. That was the first irritation. And the second irritation was like, look, you should fill up at least half the box. So I had two irritations before I even read it. But I took it from him and I went home and I read it. And this is what it says. Obstacle that I overcome was just make it to the age I am. He's 13 years old. And he's just saying, I'm just glad to be alive right now. Changed my interaction with him when he showed up to class late, because he always showed up late. Every time he showed up late, I'm like, dude, why are you late again? Every time. And after this, knowing what he had said in this paper, every time he came to class, later now, I'm like, dude, I'm so glad you're here. Give me 5. High five. Okay, boom. High five. Now, why are you late? Because being late is still not okay. But let me first just be thankful that you showed up. Because if you're just glad to be alive right now, let me just first give you honor for being here, and then we'll deal with the other stuff we need to work on. But that is when the relationship changed. When it became more than just me checking the box and whether you're tardy or absent or present or you're doing the work or not, but it became that I am thankful that you are here. That's the work. So I was trying some letters back and forth to students. I thought I was going to be famous because I thought I saw it in a movie that these teachers were writing letters to students, and then the students write letters back to the teacher. And I was like, oh, I can do that, but I don't like to write. I'm a math teacher. Well, I look like writing 150 letters a week. Who got time for that? So it was a good idea. It just wasn't sustainable. So that's where that you saw those little letters. I flashed by them pretty quick. But now I want you to try something. I want you to try something. This is the next thing you're going to try, and then the work is going to really begin. Okay, here we go. So take a deep breath. Okay. All right. I want you just maybe if you have paper hand by, I want you to write this. But if you don't have paper, just I want you to imagine it because I want you to do it later. So I want you to write I am on your paper, or in your mind, just think of I am. Yeah, just visualize that. Okay. But if you have it, I want you to think of I am 3 times. Okay. Now, what I would like you to do is I would like you to pick 3 of these words to put behind I am. So you can just be like, I'm amazing. I'm amazing. I'm amazing. Now, right now at this moment, some of you, because I've already asked you what I want you to do, there's some words that are coming out. Now, maybe those words aren't necessarily positive. Then maybe it's like, that's just stupid. Why am I doing this? I mean, why are you making me do this? This is dumb. Why are we doing this? This is what we're talking about. Like, I thought we were talking about mask. Why are we talking about I'm amazing? Who got time for this? Now, here's what I want you to know. I said the same thing when my mentor asked me to do this task. I said, dude, we're supposed to talk about business. Why you got me writing some silly affirmation stuff? This is ridiculous. And he said, Ashanti, do you believe it? Do you believe it? Okay. All right, starting to come up. So listen, the question is, maybe in your life growing up, people filled you with these positive words like you are amazing. You are special. You are loved. Like you are creative. Maybe they filled it with you. So for you to say it right now to yourself, it's easy. But what if no one ever told you? What if you didn't know that it was real because you never heard it from anybody before? Now, I know my mom loved me. I'm clear. She worked to work. She paid the bills. She made sure we had a roof over our head. Like she worked hard. Like I know there was love in there, but she wasn't walking around saying, Ashanti, you know how amazing you are. Ashanti, you know how special you are. All of my affirmations were because I was having to do something. Go take care of them kids. Go get them kids dinner. Go take care of their homework. Go make sure they take their baths. Go make sure they get to bed. Like it was all about my doing. And if I wasn't doing, then there's no affirmation. Definitely not positive. There's definitely some affirmations, but they weren't positive. The question for you is, do you believe it about yourself? And maybe you got to practice for a while. Maybe if it's not natural, if it's not easy for you, maybe you just start practicing once every morning. The reason I asked you to do this is because I know how I felt about it. And maybe you right now are like, oh, maybe I'll try. Or maybe you're like, I ain't doing that. That's so dumb. However you respond to the request, I just want you to give your best in knowing that it is not easy for everyone. Okay, I'm going to keep moving. So there were some other tasks I was going to have you do, but I don't have time for all the other tasks. But I just want you to first be really clear about that. So 2004, I was a first-year teacher. I was, doing a bad job because I had smart young men in my class who were failing. But I was like, I got to try something different. I was like, I started learning there was more going on than what I could see, because what I saw on the outside is they were failing. They were doing no work. They weren't paying attention. They were goofing off. What's going on? But what I learned when I asked them to write some words down is there was so much going on behind what I could see on the outside. There was a mask. There was masks that they were wearing that you couldn't even see. And today we're going to talk about those masks. We're not going to talk about masks of like personal protection masks. Like this is my newest mask. See that one? I'm very happy with this mask. This is a lucha libre wrestler. Like look at it. It like shines. Look at that. Like, I mean, I'm very proud of this mask. But we're not talking about these masks, okay? We're talking about masks of emotional disconnection, like the mask I'm wearing right now. Like the mask that I have to put on when I feel my emotions pop up and I'm like, I don't got time for that right now, Ashanti. You got to present. So you can't be letting yourself start crying right now. You got to get it together. Like I got to put it on quick. You don't notice it happening, but I know it's happening because I'm like, shut it down. Shut it down. Shut it down. You're starting to feel too much right now. Shut it down. The masks. And so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to ask you to do an activity. We're going to do an activity together. And here's how it's going to work. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now. Okay. And this is where part of your work really kicks in, okay? So you are going to get a link in the chat, okay? The link is 100kmasks.com, okay? And what's going to happen is you are going to do this activity. Now, let's say, for example, you're not comfortable with computers and clicking anything makes you nervous. Let's go pen and paper with you. Just take out a piece of paper. I'm gonna walk you through it on paper. So there's no worries if you are not comfortable clicking that link and going there. Stay where you are right here. Take out a piece of paper and I'm gonna walk you through it on paper, okay? For those that are comfortable navigating screens, just go ahead and navigate that because there's 3 steps. There's 1 picture plus 6 words. That's pretty much the activity. 1 picture plus 6 words. Now, it may sound simple, but it's not always easy. So I want you to just give your best wherever you're at right now. Just give your best from there. But it's 1 picture plus 6 words. So for those of you that are going to do it on paper, I'm going to walk you through it. Now, those of you that are on the computer, what you're going to see is you're going to see 2 sides. You'll see the screen will say front of mask, back of mask, right? There'll be a drawing board, right? And when you're on that screen, the first screen that pops up, you need to skip it at the bottom. Click skip on the red bar at the bottom, and then you will see this image of like a postcard. And it has a left side and a right side. It has the front of mask and the back of mask, okay? So for those of you that are doing it on paper, I'm gonna walk you through it, but we're gonna do it the same thing. You're gonna, on the left side is gonna be front of mask, and the right side is gonna be back of mask, okay? So let's do this, okay? We go right front on the left, and right back on the right, okay? Now, what we're gonna do is, there are 3 steps. Now, if you're drawing on the computer, you'll see that you can change the color, you can change the size of your pen or whatever, you can change the textures. And when you write the answers, you will type them in the boxes on the bottom. For those of you that are using paper, I'm gonna walk you through it on the steps on paper, okay? So the first step is to draw a mask. So begin using your time right now. Those of you that are using the web app is to draw your mask right there. And for those of you that are using paper, on the left side where you wrote front of mask, I want you to draw a mask. And whatever you think a mask looks like, you know, masks have a different texture and time conversation these days. But if you think about masks that exist in all types of places around the world, just draw a mask. Whatever you want to draw is great. All right. So I'm gonna give you about 2 minutes to draw your mask. Now, for the artists in the room, I know some of my artist friends don't like being rushed. So this can't be your masterpiece, just so you know, unless you got a 2-minute masterpiece. But you can come back later and draw your masterpiece. But right now, I need you to make a 2-minute mask. And so I just wanted to prepare you ahead of time because you're going to feel rushed in about 1 minute and 45 seconds. All right. So here we go. You're drawing. And those of you on paper, you're drawing a mask. On the paper, you're just drawing a mask on the left side to get us ready for that next step, okay? So here we go. And for those of you that are really fast on the computer, maybe you already finished answering the questions and you've already you've already answered those questions, and when you hit submit, it's going to ask you for some information on the second screen. And that's for those on the computer. The second screen, after you click submit, is going to ask you for your age, your city, and your gender. This is anonymous, so no one's gonna know who it is, but it just helps us to locate. So if you don't want to put your city because maybe you're the only one from your city, just put Thrive, East Bay. Yeah, it's not really to try and figure out who you are, but because we have masks from all over the world, it just helps us locate where masks are coming from. So if you want to just put Thrive East Bay, that'd be beautiful. If you feel comfortable writing your city, that's fine too. But that's what's gonna happen on the second screen. Those that are on the paper, we're gonna move on. Okay, so now you have a mask drawn. Okay. Now, the second step is to answer this question on the left side where the mask is. What are 3 qualities or characteristics of yourself that you gladly let the world see? Write those on the left side, which is the front of the mask. These are the qualities or characteristics that you gladly let the world see. All right. And for those that are on the computer that are finishing up, just go ahead and write done in the chat so we know you're done. And I'll have an idea of, because I'm going to show you a video right after this, and I want to make sure that I don't cover up your screen if you're still working. But ideally, you go ahead and start finishing up in that. So on the left side, those that are on paper, 3 words or phrases that are qualities or characteristics of yourself that you gladly let the world see. Okay. Okay. And sometimes on the computer, people get stuck on the back because they go into their heads. They go into their heads. So I'm gonna invite you that if you're stuck on the back and you're like, I can only think of 2, then just leave it at 2. But maybe you're in your head because you're trying to like create the word that you think you should write, as opposed to letting your heart feel what it was trying to feel. But just do the best you can. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. So on the back, for those that are on paper, what are 3 words or phrases that are things you don't normally let people see? What are some things you don't normally talk about? You choose what 3 for you on the paper. Okay, and write 3 things that you normally don't let people see. Okay. Okay. All right. So if you have paper, just put your paper to the side, and you've done the activity now. And those of you that are doing it on the computer, if you can go ahead and I see several folks finish, but a lot more are not. But if you can go ahead and finish up, this would be the time to finish up, because I want to show this video, and it'll be really helpful to have you already finished, so that when you see the video, it really will hopefully resonate in some ways that that make a lot of sense after you've done it. Okay, so if you can go ahead, I think we're about half, not close half, not quite half. Maybe some people are still working, and maybe you're stuck. Maybe you're just like, I ain't doing that. Just write done anyway. Just write done anyway. Like, it's anonymous, so no one's gonna know. But the goal is that doing it is gonna help you see this next part in a much different way. But ultimately, just do your best. So thank you for that. All right. Okay. I see a lot more folks are finishing up, and some people are still working. So let me I'm gonna play about 30 seconds of a song, and then we're gonna this is by a group called the Alphabet Rockers, and I'm gonna just play about 30 seconds, and then we're gonna stop after that. So here we go.
As my friend, there is something that I might need you to do. Just because you say we need equality too, will you speak out, step up and defend my truth? If you do, I'll go with you. 'Cause as my friend, you will know the truth and love just who I am. You will use your voice and make them understand. You don't always see when they're lashing out at me. I need to know that you will still believe me, standing up for me when they say those hateful things. Hold my truth, hold my truth. Hearts beat loud, voices rising. Will you be there for me, always riding side by side, reaching out? I need you, standing beside you, holding you up when you falling apart and you can't get up. You know you will be alright, 'cause you know that I got you. You are not alone.
All right, thank you. All right, so a lot more people were done. We're gonna go ahead and jump to the next part. I'm gonna show you a video that's gonna show you masks from around the world, and I know I'm running close to the end of time, so I'm gonna show this video, and there's gonna be an opportunity for you to reflect either out loud or in the chat. So after you see this video, then there'll be an opportunity for you to reflect. And what I'll do is, if you already have questions that are starting to come up in your mind, you can start dropping those into the chat as well, just so that, because I'm trying to navigate that. And here we go. I'm gonna show you the video. This is a song that was created by a group of young people in Los Angeles after they went through this experience. So here we go.
Summer you'll never have until you ask. You don't know just who I am under this mask. 100,000 masks, I'm just trying to be a man. 100,000 masks, you don't know just who I am. May think you know me, you can't envision my past. You don't know just who I am under this mask. 100,000 masks, I'm just trying to be a man. 100,000 masks, you don't know just who I am. Walk 1,000 miles and I ain't never looking back. Before I take this mask off, gotta know myself in fact. I can never go too fast, I can never get off track. Leave it in the past, I can never come in last. 100,000 masks, sure and feel who I am. I'm just feeling good, yeah, I'm feeling like the man. Front and back of mask, trying to ask her who I am. Know just who I am, when you look inside this mask. Summer you'll never have until you ask. You don't know just who I am under this mask. 100,000 masks, I'm just trying to be a man. 100,000 masks, you don't know just who I am. May think you know me, you can't envision my past. You don't know just who I am under this mask. 100,000 masks, I'm just trying to be a man. 100,000 masks, you don't know just who I am.
So I just wanted to let you see that video. This is the image of our campaign. It was done by a local artist. He actually, one of those young men on the couch in that first meeting of Ever Forward. His artist name is Hello Futures. He's based here in Oakland. He's an art teacher at a Lodestar. And this is the image he created for us for this campaign. So he knows about Ever Forward and he understands these masks. On the outside of this face, it says, "I'm okay." If you look on the outside, "I'm okay." And if you look a little closer, maybe you already see it, but if you look in between "I'm okay," there's a word written there. It says "not." I'm not okay. And the way he described this image was that the reason he put "not" over the mouth is because it's totally easy to talk about things when you're okay. When everything is good, I'm cool, I'm fine, I'm okay. But it's a lot harder to talk about things when they're not okay. That's why it's over the mouth. And in this work that, I'm making more conscious decisions about how I greet people. And I'm doing my best to think of ways of not saying "how you doing" if I don't really have time to really listen. And we know that a lot of people, when you say "how you doing," we're just waiting for the response so we can move on to the next thing. And I'm in this work today. We're not telling people they shouldn't have masks. That's not our campaign. The campaign is like, do you have somebody in your life you can take off the mask with? That's the goal of this mission, of this movement. We have a goal of collecting 1 million masks. I don't know 1 million people. So the only way it's going to happen is with, people like you who say, you know what, I know one person who may be willing to make a mask. And then you have a conversation about that mask. And then maybe they'll share it with some other person. I don't know how it's going to happen. I just know that what we've seen so far with over 50,000 masks from over 20 countries is that no matter where we go, no matter where masks are being made, that people understand that there's so much more going on with each of us than we can see. But we get stuck in our devices. We get stuck scrolling. We get stuck locked in that we're the only, everyone else has it all going on and we're the only ones that are going through real stuff. And so I just want to encourage you to do that. this is the time to ask for you some comments. So what I would say is like, and can you help me with time? Because I know I'm getting close, or I'm probably close to the end right now, but can you just give me a time check so my brain knows where I'm at?
We have 10 to 12. We have about 10 minutes for questions.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, well, before I answer your questions, if you have any thoughts that are coming up from you as you made your mask, as you watch the mask that from the video, I'm gonna ask you to leave those comments in the chat, and then if you have any questions, just unmute yourself and then or raise your hand. I'm not sure how they're doing it, and then you can ask any questions you have. But I do have a gift I want to give you, so I'll take 7 minutes for this questions or reflections, and then I'm gonna close with the last 3. So is there anyone who has a comment they want to say, a question? I see Sharon. Hey, Sharon, Zara, sorry, and Raya. Hello.
Ashanti.
How you doing?
My heart is open. I feel present. I feel deeply, deeply grateful for you and your story and your work in the world and the courage that it took to follow your heart, and the number of young people who have literally been transformed, which I've been witness to. I think my question is really around this notion of masculinity and restoring it, especially among young men of color in Oakland, many of whom you've worked with. If we're unlearning some of these toxic patterns and separate these ways of being that create separation and more pain, like what's the new story that's emerging with the young people you're working with? Curious what you're discovering there.
Yeah, beautiful question. So we are featured in a new documentary called Beyond Masculinity. It's a really beautiful story. And so I definitely, I'll put the trailer there so people can watch that. What we know is that the rules, even though the rules have more freedom inside of them, there's still a lot of rules. And so for young men in my work, because our primary work with the clubs are young men, but in our campaign, it's everyone. So it's open to everyone. What we know with young men who identify as male, who identify in the body they're in, sometimes for them it's still hard because we have a space that they have room to open up. They're expected to open up. They're expected to not come and pretend like everything is fine. And sometimes they feel pressure from that side. They feel pressure from the side of the club, where it's like, look, if you come here and you're not getting anything out of it, then it's not really doing anything for you. So if you are getting something out of it, then we need you to engage in a way that's verbally, not just your presence matters, absolutely, right? But how do we give them opportunity to talk about emotions? If you don't have emotional language, then you're probably going to shy away from talking about emotions. Here's what I tell young people. Some young men, they had a hammer and a tickler. If they can't tickle you, they're going to hammer you. And for somebody who only has a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So when the nails are not working, when the hammer is not working, right? You could build something with a hammer, but it's going to be a rough build, right? Sometimes you got a situation that needs a little sandpaper and you're hammering it. Like sometimes you need a situation that needs a little screwdriver. So we're trying to give young men in our work language to say, look, you are supposed to feel every range of emotions. You've just been taught something that says you're not only allowed to show these 5 or these 3 or this 2. And so what we are learning is the more we give them words to use, then they can talk about it. Because if I can recognize that I'm actually human and feeling is human, it's not masculine, it's not feminine, it's feeling. Like I feel, as humans, we feel. But where did you get that message from? Who taught you that message? Do you really believe it, or you bought into it? So that's how it works. So it's constant conversation, and it's constant me asking a lot of questions. Like when they begin to operate out of a blocked in, man box, that I'm like, hey, so why did you say that? Tell me about that. And never really out of, if you've been trained that this is the way to act, I'm not here to judge you. I'm just here to understand. So do you understand why you're saying these words? Right? Do you understand why you're treating me like that, or treating people around you like that? Like, do you really believe that you should treat people like that, or is that what you have been taught? And so I think it's those layers. So it's a big question, but it's constant work, but it requires conversation. It can't happen. A prescription can't be given to young people and say, here, don't do this, do that, don't do this, don't do that, because otherwise we're going to be back to the same lists. And then who gets to decide what the lists are? How about we just all treat each other with love and respect and kindness? How about those be alpha traits? How about how about just being a good person is what it means to be a good person, as opposed to having to pretend that, you know. I was at a school, and there's a longer answer to the question that I planned, but a second grader mother, you know, asked me a question at a screening. She said, you know, my second grader was having lunch with his friend, his best friend. They share lunch every day. They sit really close to each other. They're sharing lunch. They're passing lunch back and forth. This is when school's back in session. And she said some kid came over to the table and said to him, "Oh, you two are gay." This is elementary school, okay? A second grader. He comes home. He asks his mom, "Mom, what is gay?" She's like, why are you asking that?" And then he told her the story. And she was like, "So what do I do?" He knows it didn't feel good. He doesn't even know what the word means. He just know it didn't feel good. He knew what the tension from the other boy, and who taught this other boy that two boys sitting next to each other sharing lunch makes something. So it's because it's being passed on to kids early. And so if we don't early start beginning to help them be more comfortable in their own skin and be who I am and just be comfortable, like, I think we're gonna keep having to talk about it once they become uh, in some power position platform where they're using their power as a dominant over, as opposed to living with. So I don't know. That's my best answer I got at this moment.
Thank you,
I
Ashanti.
have
Thank
a
you,
question.
Ashanti.
I don't think we have any more time for questions. We have-
Well,
Sorry,
Mateen, yeah.
can I get one more? Okay.
I mean, I saw Matima's hand come up here, and Matima and Ashanti, if you all can keep it quick, that'd be awesome.
All right. Well, my first question you answered, so thank you for that. The second question is, when you're working with those young people, those men, young boys who you can't get any expression, when do you start to talk to them about the resilience that's in them? At what point do you let go of the trauma and start talking about wherever there's trauma, there's resilience?
Yeah. It comes in the early days of when they're ready. Some young men, when they come to a session and they come to their first meeting, they've been looking for this all their life. They're like, blah, they're just ready. Some young men, it takes some months before they're really to trust the space. Can I trust that this is a safe space? And so the resilience happens at different times for each one, but we talk about it from day one. Like, if you're still here, if you're still breathing, if you are still like got blood pushing through your body, there's more for you to do. You're not done yet. So what are you going to do while you're here? And since we don't know when our time is up, then how about we just make use of every day like it was our last, right? And so the resilience is all of that. But it starts with when they're ready. I'm just there to offer a space, and when they're ready, we'll be there to have that space for them. So yeah, thank you for that question.
Thank you. And I want to say I'm so proud of you. Love you so much. Thank you for your work.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You.
Well, thank you, everybody. And you know, the gift that I have for you is a quote. The quote says, actually, yeah, I apologize because I just need to show you this. So give me a second. Sorry, people in charge. I know some people there. Let me just show you this. I'm moving past it. This is the letter that I give to folks at the end of the workshop as a gift. And what I want you to know is that that a lot of our young people are going through so many things. This is a letter a young man brought me at the end of the year. This was the second letter. The first letter was definitely much different. It says, "Thank you later to Mr. Branch." He's 11, so just dear Mr. Branch, I want to thank you for being there for me. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't probably be here right now. I hope to see you next year, because I need somebody to share my feelings with or how I'm feeling, and you is one of those people I can talk to. I want to thank that for you. Thank you. I just want you to know that you know, maybe the people you're serving in the work and your life and your people you love, maybe they're not going to write you a letter and thank you. But from that young man through me to you, I just want to thank you for the work you do to make this world a better place. That's one of the most cherished letters I have in my life. And today was a journey from the head to the heart. And so the quote says, "The longest distance that most people travel is the 18 inches between their head and their heart." And most of us get stuck in our heads. And today was an invitation to connect back to our hearts. And I hope that you were able to find space to do that. And Joshua's going to share a digital swag bag. So it will have some videos that I didn't get to show that I wanted to show, but it will allow you to hold on, close this, sorry. That you can go and watch some of the videos and do some of the activities. If you want to do this activity with your community team, whatever, there's a resource there to do that. So thank you, and
Thank you.
thank you all.
Thank you, Ashanti. Appreciate it. I really appreciate this. Everyone check out the website and find out how you can get more involved, and check out the swag bag in the chat. And I would like to invite back to the stage Amy MacClain, who's going to share a couple more songs with us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ashanti. It was just so inspiring to hear you as always. And, you know, when I hear you talking about your work, I think about the 14 years I spent working with kids and teachers. And, you know, the first thing that comes up for me is always like, man, if every one of our students could just feel their teacher looking for their heart, like what could really change in our schools? And then, you know, my mind goes to like, I think we actually all need this, you know, it's like, it just takes a second because my mind is oriented towards the people I thought I was here to serve for so long, you know, and then I'm like, wait a minute, what about me? Wait a minute, what about everybody on this call? Wait a minute, what about everybody in the world? And wait a minute, what about those people I really, really can't imagine thinking that way about? Like, you know, maybe those people who Zoom bombed, or, you know, people who are doing acts of harm. And then I stop and I go, wait a minute, what about myself? And when I look about myself, I'm like, okay, what am I hiding from people? And the honest truth is I held my depression back for such a long time, like really held it back from myself, just threw myself into service and pretended like those really intense moments of immobility and frozenness and checking out and can't be with it weren't there. Didn't share it with anybody, you know, people see me and I'm like, hey, and nobody had any idea for a long time. Or I would say something and they'd be like, nah, maybe you just need something, you know, they'd give me some kind of tactical response. And it's like, that's not what this is, you know. And then I started really looking at depression, and I'm going to sing my song here in just a second, but I want to say, like, when I said at the beginning, my work is at the intersection of oppression and depression, it's like the more I start to pull on the threads of whom I'm serving, or what, you know, social justice issues coming up for me, the more I work on racism, the more I work on homophobia, the more I work on these pieces of sexism in my life and with other people, the more I'm like, oh, these are so deeply wound in with my own depression. And when I start to pull the threads of my own personal wound, the collective trauma is right underneath. There's no way these wounds would be here so deeply if we didn't live the way we live in this oppressive set of circumstances. So, you know, part of my singing is how do we speak to that, and how do we come back to a sense of oneness while we're acknowledging the oppression that keeps us apart. Very great quote by Leticia Nieto, a woman who does a lot of work around breaking down and dismantling oppression, is, you know, the truth is we're all one, the reality is we're not. And so I have this song that I wrote in the jungle that I thought would be really great for today and just with your content. It's called We Are One. And really the acknowledgement there is how the threads of oppression collectively bind us all, and also in different ways. So I'm going to sing this song for you. My friends, we all carry some assumptions, hidden little lies, invisibly guiding our steps. We are separate, we are broken. Bigger is the best, we want more than we could ever get. And the life unexamined takes its toll, thrashing through the world toward anything to stop the pain, leaning into anesthesia, listening to the lies, saying we have to keep everything in. But underneath these chains there lies a new way of seeing things. We are one, we are whole, we are a million different pieces of one story told. We all come from the same place in the grand design. Ooh. So now follow me into a different story. People tell the truth and give and take and move as one. No one separate, no one lonely. We all have enough, there is no war, no one dies alone. For when we lose these chains, there lies a new way of seeing things. We're one, we're whole. We are a million different pieces of one story told. We all come to the same place at the end of our time. Ooh. Learn to free your mind and step into the place of love. Free the other side, and then you'll know from where we've come. We're one, we're whole. We are a million different pieces of one story told. We all come from the same place in the grand design. Oh, we're one, we're whole. We are a billion different pieces of the same story told. We all come to the same place at the end of our time. Ooh. Ooh. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm going to sing one more song, but I want to sing a sing-along. So I wanted to give us all space, and I know it's hard to sing on Zoom, so we're all going to stay on mute, but I'm going to go ahead and put the words here in the chat so that you can sing along. And basically, it's going to go like this. There's just 3 lines: peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love may it bring you back to yourself, And this song I wrote, and then I got some good friends of mine, Eric Bryant, who has some radio shows on KCBZ and KPFA. You can look him up at Eric B Radio. I put his little tag down below. And Anthony Jackson, Mr. Classic, who is singing the beats on this song, and Eric is doing a little rap in the middle. And Anthony used to lead Soul Shop workshops with me, which are workshops. We used to do social emotional workshops for kids in schools, similar to what Shireen used to do over at Challenge Day. So in elementary schools with children. So got some really wonderful people backing me up on this. And let me just make sure that this is coming right. Okay, hold on there. Get back to the beginning. All right. So it's going to come up. We're going to sing the refrain 4 times, and there's going to be a break for the, there's a little story that Eric's going to tell, and then it'll come back for 3 more times, and we'll be done. Ready? You'll learn it fast. Peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love may it bring you back to yourself, to yourself. Peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love may it bring you back to yourself, to yourself. Peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love may it bring you back to yourself, to yourself. One more time. Peace be with you, and joy may it find you too, and love bring you back to yourself, to yourself.
I got 16 bars to tell you a story about 3 young girls named Peace, Love, and Joy, and their friend named you, last name Man. Going down the path of darkness, and the 3 bonded together to bring him back. They knew that he was good, just on the wrong track. See, you had overcome many obstacles in his time. Some he handled with reason, some he handled with rhyme. But lately he ain't been having no rhyme, no reason. His solutions have been hate, fighting, and war even. So Peace, Love, and Joy devise a little plan to infiltrate the height and save Mr. Man. They all linked hands in a circle around you, making a fortress of unity and truth. Formed a light so bright hate had to flee. And Peace, Love, and Joy save Mr. Human.
Peace be with you.
Let's talk about our heart.
And joy.
This is a peaceful
May
place.
it find
And
you
when it
to
is nourished,
and
and
love.
allows love to flourish.
May it bring you back to yourself.
Peace, joy,
To
courage.
yourself.
Bring it back to love.
Peace be with you. And joy.
Joy.
May it find you to and
That's
love.
not average joy.
May it bring you back to yourself.
Super
To
joy.
yourself.
Last time, here we go.
Peace be with you. And joy. May it find you to and love. May it bring you back to yourself. To yourself.
Thank you so much.
Yay!
Like my favorite part of that song, which is when Anthony's in the back. We're like, oh, there's just a gospel choir in there. And we're all singing, and Anthony's in the back. He just starts preaching, and he's like, "This joy, it's not an average joy. This is super joy." And I just was like, love that that is embedded in this community, embedded in that song. Thank you so much for your beautiful hearts.
Super.
Thank you so much, Amy. Really, really appreciate that. Well, as we're wrapping up the here and in peace and joy and love, I just want to say a couple things. I want to say deep gratitude to Ashanti Branch for coming and speaking with us and sharing your wisdom. Amy, thank you so much for your music. I want to give the shout out to Joshua for holding down the tech. Thank you to Dina and Nico for bringing us those sweet tunes right at the top. If you want to get in touch with Ashanti or Amy, check out the links in the side here. Thrive next event, there will be Thrive Sunday at the beginning of next month, and there will be a virtual concert on March 20th. So stay tuned for that. And also just want to put a reminder out for those who are interested. There's going to be a healing circle that Annalise and I are going to be facilitating at 5:40. So about 10 minutes after this, same Zoom room, and we're going to be processing people's experiences, impact, and future based off of what happened at the Zoom bombing at the last Thrive. You're welcome to come if you're here. Thank you.
My pleasure, my great pleasure to introduce our most beauteous choir member, singer extraordinaire, songwriter, even more extraordinaire, Joyous Dawn.
Yay. Hi, everyone. Thank you. Just really honored to be a part of this and really touched by your stories, Ashanti, and also your amazing modeling of teaching virtually. Thank you. And Amy, thank you for your music. Dina, thank you. I'm going to share a song that's about community love that I actually wrote after the Zoom bombing. Some of you know, I was in the middle of sharing a song when the Zoom bomb hit. And this song is just a reflection of the community love that came through after that I really felt, and also a reflection of this whole year, and it's called We're Gonna Make It Through This. I imagine you're holding my hand. In these hands, our hearts collide. I'm gonna feel you with me. Your love extends all over me to know we're not alone. We're gonna make it through this. I know time's been hard. I know love, I know love. In my heart, I feel it so deeply. We're all learning so much about empathy. I imagine I'm embracing you in this whole dear heart, holding you in these arms. We'll find peace in this moment. We'll just be. We're gonna make it through this. I know times is hard. I know love, I know love. In my heart, I feel it so deeply. We're all learning about listening. Loving and listening, loving and trusting, loving and empathy, love, 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 loving and empathy, loving and trusting, loving and listening, love, 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 love. Ooh. Ooh, yeah, hey, we're gonna make it through this. I know time's been hard. I know love, I know love.